Setting down your glass, you look at the bitter liquid inside, and the reflection is a sad, misconstrued man. You've been stuck in this godforsaken world for almost 3 years now. It wasn't a bad place. You had work, you had a home, you had a fence with a big backyard. Seems like everything every man ever wanted was in your possession, right? Not exactly. You were in a world filled with colorful ponies that talked. For the time that you've spent in this world, there hasn't been a single human. It was safe to say that you were the only one of your kind in this world. So, to make the most of your time, you've been jumping from town to town, trying to find something to stay for. You've been many places, none of which appealed to you. Manhattan was too busy-like. You hated the city as it was. Appaloosa was too western-like, too much the good, the bad, and the ugly, and your time kept you very far from there. Philadelphia, even the pony folk in Philadelphia hated being in Philadelphia. And their sports fans were the hardest to deal with. Not a day went by when you wanted to punch them in the face. Which led you to Ponyville, a nice little rural town. The folk were nice, the scenery was good, it was slow-paced, everything here was perfect. You'd find yourself a few odd jobs here and there, enough to keep a roof overhead and food on the table. The good thing about being a human was that you had many talents as opposed to just the one that ponies had. Taking another sip of your whiskey, you empty your cup and motion to the barkeep. "Another one, if you would, please." Nodding, he pours another glass, sliding it down to you. He walks up to you while using his magic to lift a cloth to dry the just-washed glass. Sporting a tailored vest, he had a brown coat with a luscious black mane that belonged in the 50s. "You know, I've been working this bar for almost 8 years now." Raising your brow, you let him continue. "Not once have I seen a human." Oh boy, here we go again. Another pony trying to start trouble. He notices that you roll your eyes and smiles. "In our textbooks they say how some of you guys were vile creatures. I find it hard to believe." Noticing the puzzled look on your face, he continues. "You're not a bad guy. You're just lost, stuck in a place you don't want to be in the first place." A grin sneaks onto your face. This stallion knows where you come from. You look around the bar. There's a few ponies around. Most have gone home by now, though it was early. "Listen, it's not busy right now. Why don't you have a glass with me? Just throw it on the tab." He seems slightly taken aback by this. Many ponies don't seem to buy a drink for their bartenders around this place, by the look of it. "You know, I haven't had a drink in a good while." "I'll take you up on that offer." The bartender goes to the shelves of liquor and pulls out a golden bottle out of the back. The label reads, "Regal Royal Salute." Just the bottle looked expensive, never mind the liquid in it. The barkeep sees your worried face and laughs. "Don't worry, I plan to put it on your tab as another glass of whiskey." You let out a relieved sigh and finish your glass. He begins to pour a glass of this godly drink as the aroma fills your nose. Scotch never was in your line of taste, but something said this would be different. As the light caramel color brimmed your glass, you waited for your partner to finish filling his. Both glasses filled, you toast to your newfound compadre and make a toast. "To the end of time." "Whatever that means," he declares with a smile. You both chuckle, sipping your drinks. If you hadn't known better, you would have thought happiness came in a liquid form. As you allowed this tender drink to course your mouth, warmth and happiness consume your body. The same could be said for the bartender, whose smile now stretched from ear to ear. "This is one hell of a drink. How much does a glass usually go for?" "Usually about 150 bits." Nearly spitting out your drink, you contain your surprise. "That's insane! I don't even want to know the price of the bottle." Taking another sip, you indulge the taste of this exquisite scotch. Hell, the price was steep, but you could see why. The barkeep leans against the bar and looks you in the eye. "What's your story? What brings you to my bar?" Looking into the cup, you let out a depressed sigh. "Would you believe I used to be in your line of work?" The bartender grins. "Wouldn't be able to. Then again, I wouldn't be able to tell you since you don't have a cutie mark." Giving a soft laugh, you continue. "I used to bartend for a fancy place, fine place to work for. In my off time, I would write, compose, and play music." His face gives a genuine sign of interest. "Tell me about this fancy place. Was it better than this shithole?" You both laugh and continue about your past job. As you conversate with the bartender, you notice something out of the corner of your eye. One of the few ponies sitting around has been riding for the past hour, looking annoyed. She had a shiny, light gray coat and a beautiful, charcoal gray-colored mane. Her eyes shined a nice shade of purple. Turning to the barkeep, you ask who she is. Oh, she's an inspiring musician who's trying to get into the Royal Camelot Symphony. She comes here once in a while to get away from everything. Looking at her table, there was nothing but paper, not even a single drink. Who comes to the bar and doesn't get anything to drink? Let me get a glass of wine, something aged well. The barkeep smiles and grabs a black bottle from under the back of the bar. Pouring it into the wine glass, he hands it back to you. Downing the rest of your drink, you get up and walk over to the pony. At first, she doesn't acknowledge your presence. You clear your throat. She looks up to you with an annoyed gleam in her eyes. Yes, what is it? You hand her the glass. A fine drink for a fine lady. You give her a bow. I wish you luck on your endeavors. Thank you? Walking back to the counter, the bartender looks at you with a grin across his face. Real smooth. What was that about? Shaking your head, you explain. When I used to write music, there were times when I wanted to get away from everything. I know how annoying and difficult it is. A memory of sitting in your room, notes everywhere around you, crosses your mind. Music sheets littered your room, and all for nothing. Every day you would say the time to become a great musician would be soon. It never came, all because you got stuck in this world out of nowhere. You pull yourself off the stool. How much do I owe you ask, pulling out your small purse. 15 bits. You raise a brow. There's no way it could be that much. Here's 30, you say, handing him the mentioned amount. He looks at you confused. That's too much, sir. You shake your head and smile at him. Consider it a tip. My name's Anonymous, not sir. You make your way out. You look and see the pony again. She's deep in her work, but as you pass, she takes a sip from her wine glass and looks at you from the corner of her eyes. Smiling, you walk out the door. Nothing pleased you more than helping out a fellow musician. The cool night air rushes to your face. Autumn was your favorite season. Not too hot, not too cold. Following the path, you make your way home. The ringing of the leaves finished 2 days ago, but the colors still littered the ground. You sigh as you pass the quiet houses. The moonlight's glow radiates throughout the street. It was something that was worth staying up for. Looking up at the moon, you feel something tug at your heart. It was the same as it was at home, but that didn't make this home. Everything you had was gone. Family, friends, not any of it was here. Yet you lived on. But for what? What you missed most was your job. Being a bartender was your pride and joy. Having a chance to serve the fine people who came in, hear their stories, their problems. It always gave you inspiration to write music when you got home that night. Every pony here, however, was always happy. They lived simple lives, never worrying about the next day or their pasts. You continue to walk, staring down the dirt path as you go. A single tear drips from your eye. Approaching your home, you look at the once luscious garden. The roses and tulips you once had are now withered with signs of death. Opening the door, you walk inside. As you place your pocketed items on the nightstand, you sit on the edge of your bed and look at the clock. 10 p.m. At this time, you are at work back home. Lying in your bed, you look up to the ceiling. Sleepiness slowly consumes you and your eyes close. Waking up in the morning, you perform your usual tasks. Shower, shave, and clothe. Same routine, different day. You venture out into the bright sun and walk the usual path. Rarity needed help with some heavy lifting today and was willing to pay you for time. As you continue down the path, you look around you. The usual hustle and bustle is going on. Ponies opening the shops, running errands, the same as every day. Once you approach the boutique, you open the door. Welcome to Rarity stops upon seeing who had opened the door. Oh, Anonymous, about time you showed up. The smug face she puts on sends a strike of anger up your spine. You choose to suppress it in apologies. My apologies, I lost track of time. She moves over to the pile of boxes and points to them. I need these to be taken to the post office as fast as possible. I'd do it myself, but I've been so busy lately that I haven't had the chance. Sure thing. You take the cluster of packages and make your way for the door. As you motion to open it, someone else does. A familiar pair of purple eyes meet yours. She walks past you, not making a single acknowledgement of your existence. You shrug it off and head for the post office. Walking down the street, the sun beats down on your head. It's much hotter than it was yesterday. The Pegasi must have decided to make it a clear day to make up for the extra rainy days they put out a week ago. Sweat beats onto your forehead as you open the door to the shop. Leaving the boxes in the bin, you head back to the boutique to claim your bounty for your hard work. As you open the door to the big carousel building, you overhear Rarity's conversation. "Here's the dress you requested, darling. Might I ask what the special occasion is?" I've been invited to play a solo performance at the Canterlot Castle for Celestia's diplomatic meeting with some of the griffins. A gasp escapes Rarity's mouth as she kiddies around like a child. "Dear, that's amazing! I feel honored to make your dress for you." "Oh, thank you, but please, let's not try to make a big deal of this." "Oh, of course, dear." You turn the corner and stand behind them. "I apologize for interrupting, but I've completed your task, Rarity." She reaches under her counter and pulls a purse out. Handing you 10 bits, she beams at you. "Thank you, darling. I appreciate it." You pocket the coins and turn to walk away. Looking over, you lock with her purple eyes once again before taking your leave. Outside, the sun hasn't ended its brutal rampage. It beats you down with its rays, and sweat threads form rather quickly on your brow. Wiping it off, you head to Sugar Cube Corner. The little bell rings as you walk in. Pinky emerges from the kitchen wearing an apron covered in frosting and flour. She notices your entrance and bounces over to you. "Hello, Anon. You're here to help with the deliveries today, right?" "Yeah, what'll I be taking?" She takes you over to the kitchen and points to a small satchel filled with boxes on the table. "This goes to Lyra and Bonbon, these go to Cheerilee, and this one goes to..." Opening the box, she consumes an entire cake inside in a single bite. "Me!" She falls to the ground and begins to laugh hysterically. Rolling your eyes, you grab the satchel and make your way towards your destination. Knocking on the door, you wipe the sweat off your sleeves. Lyra answers the door and smiles right at the sight of you. "Oh, Anonymous, how are you? Are you here with our Danishes?" "Yeah, I have 'em right here." You dig into your bag and pull them out of the box. "Wonderful! Why don't you come in and get away from the hot sun?" She takes the box and motions for you to go into her home. Giving a creepy grin, her motions get more violent as you stare at her. Shaking your head, you decline. "Sorry, I'd love to, but I have more deliveries to perform. Maybe another time, okay?" You hurry away as she screams something about coming over any time you'd like. Something about that unicorn creeped you out. She was always staring at your hands. Anyway, walking up the hill, you head over to the little schoolyard. The fillies and colts are outside, running around and having a good time. They all approach you, seeing the square-shaped bag hanging from your shoulder. "Oh, it's the cupcakes Miss Cheerilee promised us." "You can give us the box. We'll take 'em to her for you." You grin and look at them. "No can do, little ones. I have to hand this one directly to your teacher, or I have to take it back." They let out a simultaneous groan. You can't help but laugh. Knocking on the front door of the school, you wait a moment. No response. You crack the door open and peek inside. Cheerilee is conversing with none other than the gray-coated pony. "I don't want to impose on you, dear. I just want to expand the children's interests." "Cheerilee, it's fine. I don't mind playing for them. I just hope they'll be interested." You'd stay longer and listen, but the sun was beginning to burn on the back of your neck. Slamming your fist against the door, you rattle the poor thing. "Come in," you hear from inside. Slowly opening the door, you lock eyes with her once again. A moment of silence goes on before Cheerilee tries to break the awkwardness. "Oh, Anonymous, are you here to deliver the cupcakes?" "Yes, ma'am." You break eye contact and hand the box to Cheerilee. "Well, that's just wonderful. Thank you so much." Looking back at the pony, you raise a brow. Did she think you were following her, or was she following you? Cheerilee notices the expressions on your face and clears her throat. "Anonymous, have you ever met Octavia?" You give a single shake of your head, not breaking eye contact. "We've seen each other, but we never actually squared off." You extend your hand. "My name's Anonymous. A pleasure meeting you." She extends her hoof and shakes your hand. "Octavia, the pleasure is mine." Turning to Cheerilee, you wave her goodbye. "I gotta get back to Sugar Cube Corner. Have a good day, you two." Walking down the same path, you begin your venture back to the store when some pony taps your leg. Looking down, you're met with the stalking purple eyes again. Her heavy breathing must mean she ran after you. "Hold! Hold on a moment. Facing her, you wait for her to catch herself. After a good, long, deep breath, she glares at you. Why have you been following me all day? So you were the stalker. Figures. I haven't been following you, I've just been doing my odd jobs here and there, and you conveniently show up. Continuing on your way, she walks alongside with you. It's plainly obvious that you have a general interest in me. You buy me a drink, you show up everywhere I am the next day, the signs are out in the open. Rolling your eyes, you let out an annoyed sigh. Listen, I gave you a drink because it was obvious you had writer's block. Fine wine will clear anyone's mind. I presume after that drink you were able to finish your work? She looks away from you, blushing, and she mutters a yes. Good, that's all there was to it. Nothing more, nothing less. I was just helping you, musician to musician. Arriving at the front of Sugar Cube Corner, you open the door and hear the familiar bell jingle. Pinky runs to the counter with a smile on her face and greets you. Anon, have you finished those errands yet? Nodding, you hand her back the now empty satchel. All the packages were delivered safe and sound. She giggles and covers her mouth when she notices Octavia. Raising a brow, you look at her in confusion. She motions for you to move in and whispers in your ear. She was asking where you were earlier. Someone's got a secret admirer. Falling to the ground, she begins her giggle fit. Knew it. You weren't the stalker. Recovering from her fit, she gets up and goes under the counter to pull out her purse. She hands you 10 bits whilst trying to fight off the giggle fit. You pocket the money and thank Pinky for the work before heading out. Octavia is still along you, completely annoyed. What do you mean, musician to musician? Why was she still following you? As in, I've played an instrument, I've written music, I've been in your shoes, or whatever expression you guys call it. Annoyed, you begin to walk faster. She keeps up with your pace and still pecks questions at you. What instrument did you play? Saxophone. How long did you play for? Since I was a child. The pain tugged at your heart again. The main reason you got into it was because of your parents. Anger quickly fills your mind, and you increase your speed, only to have her keeping up with you. All the ponies on the street begin to stare at you two pretty much jogging down the dirt path. Why have you stopped playing, then? You roll your eyes, another obvious sign of being annoyed. Because I don't have my instrument, and I don't have the money for it. She gives off a scoff grunt. I saw you drinking the royal salute. There's no way you have no money. You stop. You've finally reached the front of your house. Turning to her, you glare with a fierce intensity. The bartender handed me a drink to try. Bartender sees the troubles of another person and gives them a drink that will cure their ailments. That's their job! She steps back, slightly taken aback by your reaction. I apologize. I didn't... Looking at the expression on her face, you begin to feel the guilt creep up. She was just curious and you kept attacking her for it. Lowering your head, you sigh. Listen, it's not a problem, it's kind of complicated. A weak smile crosses her face. I understand. Might I see you at the bar tonight? I would love for you to look at my work and give me your opinion. Opening the door, you stop for a moment. Yeah, I'll be there. You close the door and head for the kitchen. Opening the fridge, you take out a canister of apple juice. Reaching for a cup, you recollect your thoughts. Some pony here had a genuine interest in you and your passion, and you were pushing them away. You pour the liquid down and look into it. Maybe you should give her a chance. Downing your drink, you sit on the bed and look around the room. It's quite empty aside from the furniture. Compared to the apartment you stayed in, this was very clean. The vision of papers littering the floor and walls comes to mind. Each and every one of them crumpled with big X's drawn through them. Your current room was nothing like that. It didn't feel like home. Looking out the window, you see the sky has an orange tint. Nighttime has already creeped its way through the day. It's best to take a cold shower after such a long, hot day. Stepping into the freezing water, your skin recoils until it has found comfort. Washing every part thoroughly, you step out and dry yourself. You look into your wardrobe and pull out your usual clothing for the night. Taking a close look, you decide that it's time for something different. Grabbing a dress shirt and some slacks, you look up at yourself in the mirror. It had been a while since you dressed up. You look out of the window and see the night sky. Glancing at the clock, it reads 8 p.m. A few drinks will calm any swelling heart, even if it's temporary. The old expression still replayed in your head to this day. Heading out, you follow the almighty path like always. It was becoming a religious thing at this point. You look up, the all-familiar plot of the stars in the sky, pull your head quickly away. Looking at it would only cause grief, so it was best to avoid it. Making your way to the bar's door, you open it and enter. You look around and see the usual ponies. No Octavia in sight. Sitting up at the counter, you call over the bartender. "Evening, Anonymous. Usual?" You nod and he hands you a cup of whiskey on the rocks. Taking a sip, you look up and see him staring at you. "Something's bothering you. Something big." You give him a chuckle. "Never once did I think I'd see the day when I was the one in this chair explaining myself to some pony else." He smiles and puts a hoof on your shoulder. "Listen, one day we're gonna have to switch spots, and I'll need your advice. But for now, it's time I helped you out." You guzzle down the drink and take a breath. "I was running my usual assortment of odd jobs. However, every time I reached a destination, that pony from last night would be there." You begin to stir the ice inside your cup. "I find her interesting and all, but I have this fear that if I keep someone close to me, I'll just lose them again." Pulling your finger out, you wipe it on the napkin. "I don't want to lose everything again, so that's why I pushed her back the way I did." He closes his eyes and hums. You used to do the same thing. It was the process of problem solving. Processing all the possibilities, the consequences, figuring out the best outcome. His eyes shoot open. No matter what you do, you're going to get hurt. Either you live a miserable, secluded life, or you spend a small time of happiness with some pony. You jerk your head back and give him a puzzled look. You both like music. She's willing to put up with your ways. Hell, it's plainly obvious she likes you. Sounds like the perfect mate for you. "But I'm human and she's a pony." "Do you think she cares? She's willing to put that past herself. Why can't you?" Looking down into your empty cup, you begin to think. Maybe he's right. Maybe it was time you got past the whole species thing and found some pony to spend your time with. It was just a custom followed by your people. It was wrong by their standards. But it didn't matter now. They weren't around to determine that. The seat next to you suddenly becomes occupied. Turning your head, you meet eyes with Octavia. Holding a notebook in her hooves, she places it on the counter. She turns to the bartender. "Might I have that glass of wine from last night?" The bartender smiles and nods his head as he pours her a glass. He walks away, but not before giving you a wink. She clears her throat and takes a sip. "It's nice to see that you showed, Anonymous." "Likewise." The deafening silence creates an awkward atmosphere. Trying to break the silence, you point to her book. "What do you have there?" She slides a notebook to you. "This is my music work." Opening it up, you look inside. The blotches of red and black bring back old memories. Staying up till the morning sun itself, making sweet, sweet music. You would play your trusty sax at exactly 7 a.m., only because the neighbors asked you to. They loved waking up to the smooth jazz that you composed. "I feel that this part here increases the rhythm too quickly, but this blew me away. I wouldn't be able to come up with something like this." She scoots her stool closer, leaning in on the book to see what you're pointing at. Her soft fur touches up against your arm. "I must admit I was frustrated at the time, so I may have put some of my anger into writing that part." You feel blood rushing to your head. Your heart begins to pound at a higher rate. "This part is a rather simple piece. It's quite embarrassing how I came up with it." Giving her a reassuring smile, you ask her the obvious question. "Why is it so embarrassing?" She blushes and pulls her book back. "Nothing that you should know about. It's personal." You raise your hands up to show neutrality. "Fine, I won't poke my nose where it doesn't belong." Looking down, you see that a new glass had appeared in front of you. Its familiar fragrance enters your nostril. You peer down to the bar and see the bartender placing the golden bottle back on the shelf. Giving him a nod, you mouth him a thank you. He merely turns away and begins to conversate with another customer. Taking a sip, you indulge in the fine liquid. Your body warms up and you feel something, as if all of your troubles are gone. Octavia watches as a smile creeps its way onto your face and follows in turn. It's really that good, isn't it? Placing the cup down, you look up to the ceiling. Every pony has their drink. Their drink is determined by who they are, where they come from, how they live. You're born with your drink, much like your soul. Her eyes shine, hearing your wisdom. You glance over at her and chuckle. Sound like a cheesy poet, don't I? She shakes her head in disagreement. That came from the heart. I felt the meaning in those words. You really like to drink, don't you? You take another sip from your cup and gently place it on the counter. Drink? In a way. I used to be a bartender. There are rules, ethics, and conditions. But in the end, you're not only a supplier of drink. You peer down into the cup. You're a problem solver, a psychiatrist, a friend. Someone who knows the person at your counter better than they know themselves. She looks into the wine glass. Is that why you gave me this? You knew exactly who I was before you knew me. You shake your head. I know of your drink, not the person drinking it. She takes a sip and smiles. I must say, you were correct. The wine was one of the reasons I was able to finish my song. You both begin to chuckle and finish your drinks. You know about me. What about you? She lowers her eyes to her now finished glass and sighs. I live a life that most would find boring. I play the cello and solo in an orchestra. I love to cook and sometimes go to the bar to get away from all the noise. You place a hand over her shoulder and she looks up at you. Nothing in life is boring. Somewhere out there, some pony wishes they were you right now. She emits a smile so radiant it rivals the sun itself. After 4 glasses of wine, 3 cups of whiskey, and some heartfelt conversation, you decide you've had enough and are ready to go home. Paying your tab, you catch Octavia before she walks out. Would you like me to walk you home? She gives a simple nod and you both join ways with the town path again. The moon is extra bright tonight, and not a bit of darkness is seen. It's almost as if it were daytime again. Giving a simple nod, you look up at the sky. The stars are much more abundant tonight than usual. Before long, you reach your destination. Standing in front of the doorway, you look to Octavia. Well, we made it here safe and sound. I hope you enjoyed yourself tonight. Her great ice smile comes to face. Of course, I had a wonderful time. Getting down on one knee, you give her a hug. She awkwardly attempts to return it, but accidentally hits you in the head with her hoof. I'm so sorry, you're not hurt, are you? You rub your head and break into laughter. Seeing how contagious it is, Octavia finds herself laughing as well. After the giggles have left your system, you get up and wish her a good night before leaving. Making your way home, you look up at the moon. For the first time ever, you didn't feel the heart-tearing pain that you did before. An old expression pops into your head, and for once, you feel at peace. Home is where you make it. Alright, thanks everybody so much for being here with me today and listening to me read that story. Part 2 should be out soon. We're about halfway done. I really appreciate everyone being with me here today. If you could smack that like button, it would mean so much to me. But most of all, I just hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Take it easy, everybody.